my goodness, wrong scene. All right, friends, hello and welcome to the live stream. Oh my goodness. So it's been a little while since April O'Neil has been back, and that is my cosplay, if you're not familiar. So I love the Ninja Turtles. If you're not aware of who the Ninja Turtles are, they're from, I have this comic book as well. I usually read crossover comic books, and it's the weekend, so this is kind of like an ode to Saturday morning cartoons, even though it's in the afternoon and things like that. So today's topic is actually the alchemy of astrology. And what do we mean by that when it comes to alchemy? So alchemy is like the process of transformation, right? So when it comes to that, it's like I had a little post about when you have something that initiates. After that process, you have synthesization or gestation, and that's where this fixed work part comes into play, and then you have the distribution. So how that plays out in astrology is you have cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. And so as you go around the wheel, right, I have my little wheel right now. It's actually we're going to go into two things as well. It's funny how April O'Neil, she's like from Channel 6 News, right? And you're reporting on the truth. So think about this as like cosmic weather, right? So hello, welcome. Oh my gosh, I'm on a lot of platforms at the moment. We're also going to do a reading of the chart of the everlasting now, where we are in time space. Oh, log, what prairies am I from? I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So if you guys, I'm actually going to be going home on Christmas this year, or around Christmas this year. So I will be back home, coming home to Winnipeg for a little bit. And that'll be fun because then I'm going to do some lives there with some of my friends from there as well. And I'm hopefully going to pull together my sister. She's my original Wonder Woman, and she doesn't have TikTok or any of the social medias. So it'll be an opportunity to have Wonder Woman and Supergirl play together. But my cosplay right now is April O'Neil, and I'm going to tell you guys a story about why April O'Neil is so special to me. And I actually have a comic book, and this comic book is a crossover. I have done readings in the past, you guys, on online that of the crossover between the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman. I don't think, this is more of like an all ages comic book. So the themes are a bit more childlike in nature, which I'm fine with. The innocence of being a child. And I feel like a lot of my live streams are to serve two purposes: to educate about these stories that have been so near and dear to my heart, and hope that you guys can also find inspiration through these stories in your own inner world, in your dreamscape, as you come to this reality, this life, as you're navigating your way through it all, right? So we have a solstice coming up as well. So Christmas is coming up, all of the holiday seasons, all this homecoming thematic stuff. So I thought today that I would bring back April O'Neil because I love you, April O'Neil. And it's funny because April O'Neil actually has a lot in common with Barbara Gordon's Batgirl. And this comic book, it's so cute. There's a scene in here where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Batgirl, Robin, and April are all hanging out eating pizza. And I'm like, oh my gosh, give me that universe. Here, I'll show you guys. There, see, right? So you got April, Batgirl, the Ninja Turtles, all that kind of stuff. It's so great because I was saying this. My whole reason for moving from Winnipeg to Toronto was I wanted to be a broadcast journalist, you guys. So I went to school for broadcast journalism for like a brief moment, and then I got disillusioned with the whole thing because I'm like, this whole thing is just about show business. However, I did learn a few tenets of journalism, and the main one being that it is about unbiased storytelling, right? So even in the comic books, like Crisis on Infinite Earths, for example, Lois Lane is a reporter. Oh, hey, Alpha, that's so Thank you for that. Thanks, you guys, for joining me actually on the live, you guys online, and all the other channels as well. I'm also live on Beam and on my YouTube channel because I do have I'm going to do an astrology chart reading for you guys as well. So I want to also, like, I'm trying to frame this like I'm like your cool teacher in cosplay. And the cosplay is just so you guys can pay attention to like the sneaky little lessons I'm going to put into and make learning fun. So today's class, like what we're going to learn today, my friends. Oh, actually, let me tell you a first story about why I love April O'Neil so much. So the Ninja Turtles as a comic book, I have like this crossover here. The style of Ninja Turtles is very, I thought I wasn't going to like it, but it kind of grows on me. Like, so the different ways that each character is illustrated, right? They give it a little bit of a personality. You yourself are going to probably have different favorites. And drop in the chat if you have a favorite Ninja Turtle. My initial favorite, historic favorite Ninja Turtle is Leonardo, because I always like the leaders of the groups. I think of Leonardo as like Captain America, you know, like the captain of the team, right? And so this is why he tends to come into not conflict, but there tends to be like a foil to him in Raphael, right? Who's like more of that darker side, lone wolf, but like is there for his friends when time calls. Hey Dave, how's it going? Oh, uh, it's funny you spell my name with an A-E-L because my best friend growing up, she spelled her name Rachael, and I spell my name Rachel. And it's funny because I grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. There's a big French community there, and so everyone usually calls me Rochelle or Ray Ray, Raycheese, all the fun nicknames. I am all of them. But to quote Shakespeare in Romeo and Juliet, name, what's in a name? A rose by any other name would smell just as sweet, right? So there is more to you than the name that you have, right? There's your essence, your scent, your energy, all of that kind of stuff. Oh, thank you. Me too. This one's my favorite, Kai. I also think Batgirl herself, her outfit, her costume, actually also consists of a bulletproof wig. So this also protects your brain from damage. So, you know what? That's all to say. I'm going to get into like the power of hair color in just a second, but today's class is going to be about the alchemy of astrology. So, drop two things in the chat if you feel so inclined. Your sun sign, which of course is where the sun was when you took your first breath into this existence, right? And then next, if you know your moon sign, that'd be great too. I like knowing about that because that's your emotional side. And then also what your favorite Ninja Turtle is. I'm Gothball, so I guess I have no protection. Maybe because of that, you're refracting light and you get a halo, right? How about that? a crown upon your head. So let me go first back to April O'Neil. She is a character in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles universe. I loved her a lot just because she knew like the secrets, right? So this whole idea of reporters and journalists seeking the truth, and this is years ago, right? Like journalism and the news these days has become much more sensationalized. It's been much harder to kind of keep track of what truth is with a capital T, and you have to kind of look to like your own discerning lenses, your own ways of navigating time, space, and trust your heart, as cheesy as that sounds. If something doesn't sound right, probably not right. And also to protect your psyche, right? Like be aware of the stories that you allow into your sacred attention and you allow into your inner world. So all of that is to say that thank you if you're deciding to listen to this right now. So I'm playing as April O'Neil as a way of like fulfilling my childhood dream of being April O'Neil and telling stories, because at the end of the day, you also have to know what secrets to keep safe, right? So certain things, if like a friend tells you like, listen, keep this a secret, like she had to keep the turtle secret, like let everyone, wasn't going around telling everybody there's Ninja Turtles living in the sewer, right? But you know that, and because you know that truth, and you're one of the only people who know that truth, in many of the storylines, April comes to the rescue to, you know, open a portal to get the turtles back home, or just, you know, showing up with Casey Jones to ensure that there's some backup in the fight, right? You always need backup, and the journey is so much more fun when you have friends. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to go through the chart reading of the Everlasting Now as a way of talking about the alchemy of astrology. And so the alchemy of astrology is To me, the concept of you're moving from one place to another, if you think of it like Philosopher's Stone situation, it's the concept of transmuting lead into gold, right? And this idea of lower, like perfection. I don't like the word of perfection, but this idea of like things in their raw form become honed. Oh, like a sword, right? If you have like the raw materials of a sword, but you still have to craft it and make it and, you know, have masonry against it, put it in the fire, hone it. And so that's similar to what I think of symbolically as alchemy when it comes to you being a person in this existence, right? So as like when I think about myself when I was first reading Ninja Turtles back in the day, I used to pick up the comic books from the grocery store when I went grocery shopping with my mom. And you know, like when you're checking out, there'd be Archie comics and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics. So I would usually pick those up at the end. There was some fun crossovers between that, right? Sir Francis, yeah, it's been a long time. I've been doing a lot of editing and actual stuff. Where are we at now? So you know what? We're going to do an astro chart reading. I typically do astro in the day. April O'Neil reading this comic book is going to be a little bit later. This is really fun. It's Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventures. I think this almost seems like they know of each other. No, they don't. But Harley Quinn's in here, like classic Harley Quinn. And the Joker, and it just reminds me of almost just like the animated cartoons put into a comic book. Oh yes, somewhat spiritual. Yeah, I guess so. It's funny, right? I think of human beings as just naturally being spiritual. Generally, I think of it as honing your own connection to yourself, right? This idea of knowing thyself. Yeah, well, we will do some readings. Yes, I'm going to read some of this based on what I'm going to tell you guys about what's going on in the cosmos right now. So it's a very spicy time in the cosmos. If you are seeing my screen on my other little, I'm Ozymandias. Ozzy is always the bad guy in all the comic books. And you know what? At the end of the day, he's trying to do the right thing, I guess, in his mind, right? Last time I was doing the Flash series. Yes. So I'm going to bring back, that's what I've been doing, actually, you guys. I've been going through a lot of my old comic book readings and organizing them and cataloging them. And it is such a huge task to go through all that stuff, too, because I've been trying to edit them down so that, you know, the preamble in between the comic books where I'm talking to you guys, I try to cut that down a little bit just so the end justifies the means always. Well, that's your mantra. I don't know if the end always justifies the means. Good question. What do you guys think? Does the end always justify the means? Dun, dun. But I mean, I guess it depends on what end you get. What am I looking for here? Okay, yes. My fun little chart. Okay, friends, let's go into whatever the chart and the stars are saying right now. I'm going to take away all my planets and we're going to put them on the board. And before I do that, I always love the game metaphor when it comes to reality. And I'm working on an RPG game that uses Astro as its basis, right? So that's also what I've been working on, all of that stuff, so that you guys can actually kind of, we can play a little bit more, right? You know, like having the tech work for me, my modem burned out. I had to get a new modem and like reset all of the things. So tech, right? And what do we mean by tech? And this idea of biotech, right? And activating our bodies on a level that we can maybe do things that may seem like magic. I'm waiting for that. And wealth, women, and power. Ooh. Well, I'm pretty pleased you have women in that equation, my friend. It ain't easy, but you're doing good. Thanks, Sir Francis. I'm assuming you're a knight by your name, so that's also not an easy job. or a role to play. Knights are very, I love knights. One of my favorite stories growing up was Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. I was like obsessed with the Arthurian legends. I was convinced there was an island of Avalon that Arthur was still sleeping and he was gonna like come back one day. But yeah, all of the motifs on the king, the return of the king, that whole theme, that is an internal alchemy, you guys, right? So this idea of being king and sovereign of yourself is something that is what's required for like an activation of self, I think. Okay, let's go into the chart. So let's education time into astrology. I tell people, like, you don't have to believe in astrology for astrology to believe in you. There's nothing to believe in. I'm simply looking at it like, oh, this is the cosmic clock. This is where we are in the story according to the luminaries in the sky. I live in downtown Toronto. I cannot see the stars in the sky, but the moon was really big and full, right, coming up. So we have a really beautiful, luminous full moon coming into play tomorrow, actually, the big full moon. So what are you going to do with it, right? It's like the accumulation of all wishes. So seeds that have been planted come into being, right? So my sign, I'm a Taurus. Fun fact, Megan Fox, who has played April O'Neil in the movies, she's also a Taurus. But she has a moon sign in Leo, which makes a lot of sense to me because of the acting and all that. But my moon sign's in Gemini. So something for you guys to look at as well. You can use any calculator, online, astrology. If you find out your moon sign, it gives you some more intel into yourself. And I think that that's the whole fun of astrology for me, especially, is just to know thyself and to know what characters, what roles you are blessed to play in this like game of life, right, that we call existence. Okay, let's go. So that's what I've been doing, you guys, editing all this stuff. And then sometimes I rewatch some of these lives. I'm like, wow, we are really coming across some things, you guys. So maybe I can teach a comic book class in the New Earth School. How about that? And then ways of us, like a real Professor Xavier School for gifted youngsters, right? And all youngsters. All youngsters. We're all young at heart. That's what I mean. Okay, so this is the zodiac wheel, okay? We go from Aries. Oh my gosh, it's hard because I'm like reversed as well. So we go from Aries all the way around back to Pisces. We are currently in Sagittarius season. Where did the sun go? So when you're talking about your horoscope, right, when you go like, oh, like back in the day when I used to pick up like Cosmopolitan magazine and be like, oh my gosh, what's my horoscope? You're usually talking about your sun sign. And some astrologers will say that this is your main personality, but since I've learned more about astrology, I've come to realize it's a bit more about your like main. So think about what the sun represents in your body. Even it's your solar plexus. Hey, that works. That works. So your solar plexus, right? So even Green Lantern, right? When we talk about the will and this idea of hard light coming into form because of the will and focus, right? There's a truth to that in a sense of your will and your solar plexus. So in astro, having this in Sagittarius right now, happy birthday to all you Sagittarius friends out there, by the way. Oh, thanks, Jerome. Sagittarius is a sign of, like, it's the centaur with the bow and arrow, right? And so typically it's this idea of seeking out the truth. Sagittarius is also ruled by Jupiter, and so you have this expansive quality there. Oh, thanks, Kai. Thank you, Ken. Thank you. So for all of us as a collective whole, as a human species, the kings and queens of the children of Earth, we are all feeling the energy of optimism, looking to a North Star, having this idea of there's something more out there. I was watching some stuff about people seeing stuff, seeing lights in the sky, all of this wonder, awe, it's all powered there by the sun. In your own chart, where the sun sits, also, it is an activation point to where your burning and your battery come from, your battery power. So it's a bit more than your personality. It's more about what is powering your whole character here, right? I like looking at the chart of the zodiac as kind of like a stage, you know, all the world's a stage, right? And so if we think about it, like I had to do lighting in drama class. And when you were looking at the stage, right, this, let's say, is front stage, and this is backstage. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So we are in backstage right now. So if we think about the signs like Aries, all the way to Libra that splits the chart, those are all the signs that, let's say, are like front stage. So more personal planets, and like you think about it, like even if you're like coming from backstage to front stage, you're going to enter through Aries, right? So you're like, and then Libra is where you would exit the stage. April, the turtles need me. Oh my gosh. Oh, I know. That's why I'm doing this. Because we need to open a portal. The turtles are trapped in the DC universe dimension. So what are we supposed to do? We got to open a portal. But then what are we going to do about portals that are open? Close them. I feel like we have a lot of issues with that in this reality, you guys. I don't think people realize how powerful they actually are. And you know, like when you're opening portals, like how to close them after. And then like weird other energetic things come through too. Dun dun dun. What would Aries do in that case of a portal? Depends on what kind of portal. Because remember, let's define our terms, my friends. Because there's a lot of words themselves. George Orwell warned us about this in 1984. That the meanings of words have all been kind of like flipped and changed around, and so the meanings of things only have context within a story, within the other words that are being used around it. Cowabunga, dude. Hey, Snuva. Oh my gosh, let's bring back cowabunga into vocabulary. And, oh my gosh, tubular and radical man. Okay, so front stage, backstage. So for you guys, like, so if we think about like each of the planets as being like gods in themselves, right? And energetic representations of you, right? So your sun in you, like we think of the Greek god Apollo, but the embodiment of the sun is also Helios, right? So this idea of this things that are also ruled by the sun, I don't think people realize, is also oracles. So you think about the Oracle of Delphi. They're all priestesses to Apollo, and Apollo is the sun god. His twin sister is the moon, and she is the moon goddess Artemis, or Diana. I love Artemis and Diana. She is one of my favorite goddesses growing up. And I love the moon in general. But the moon is tricky, right? Let's go into that right now for the chart of the now. The moon is in, oh my goodness, it's in Gemini. It's in my home moon area. So I was born with the moon in Gemini. I will admit, though, when I first found that out, I was like, really? Because I will admit, I had some prejudice against Geminis. But it's weird. I have a lot of Gemini friends. I would say, like, in my whole friend group, I have Gemini friends the most. I don't think I have many other Taurus friends, but yeah, I have a lot of Gemini friends and Scorpios in my life. And Scorpio opposes Taurus, so that kind of makes sense too. Of course. Yes. Hi, Tiny Aphrodite. Hello, welcome. No Aries. Oh, my rising sign's in Aries. And my Mercury and Venus are both in Aries as well. We will get to that in just a moment. So you, my friends, when you first took your first breath into this existence, right? You had a map of all the stars in the solar system, all the luminaries that were imprinted exactly you. And there are infinite possibilities that can exist for you. So you are here to live out a very specific character existence. And the universe needs you to live exactly that, because literally no one else can do it. And so by looking at the chart of the now, like, it's a way of thinking of it is that if a baby were to be born at this exact moment, this would be their chart. And because we are all one, like we are the collective human I, right? We all feel everyone's chart, right? And especially, so the imprint of your natal chart is but one lens of everything you are. And so that when you are interacting with others, what we call synastry is when you have a whole universe interacting with another universe, which is why I love doing crossover comic book readings for lives for you guys, right? Because you have whole universes interacting, and so rules of each universe, vibes of each universe, as they converge, as they interact with each other, you end up with these cool other aspects and energy signatures that give you clues as to how you can like navigate your way through life. So, and just have it be a little bit more fun too. Oh, amen. Thank you. And you know what? All of these looks for me have been my way of discovering parts of myself. So in these characters that I get to like put on, I get to also like take on all their attributes too. Like, cause April O'Neil, she always comes through at the last minute, right? The turtles are in a bind because she's the only one who knows where they are. You know, if they're off somewhere and they're in trouble, like she's got to figure something out, and she's got no superpowers, so she's got to be smart and figure out ways to like help her like super friends out, right? Because you always need, you can be the superest hero in the world and you still need friends and you still need backup no matter what. And April O'Neil has taught me that, and I've always been that with my friends, and it's been really fun reconnecting with old friends of mine as I've been writing my own comic book, because all of my comic books, all of my stories are based on real people. And so it's just been fun to reconnect with old friends of mine, because I grew up at a time when you literally were just like, you'd go to like a park and pretend you were just like in the woods. There's no one around, like civilization. And then you would just, we would play. And so I feel like sacred play has just it's a little bit lost in our world. Children these days, I feel like, have to grow up so fast. There's almost all like this overload of just information and no opportunity to just be like, wow, and be like, wow, I don't know the answer to that. I'll wonder about it. Instead, I'll just Google it. And now I know. There's a beauty in like not knowing and like being okay with just being like, I don't know that, but I will figure it out, and trust that you will figure it out, right? And then like it's fun not always knowing the answer to things, right? And just to get over this idea of being like, I'm stupid just because I don't know the answer to that. No. You're stupid if you pretend that you do, you know? And so it's just about also creating spaces where you can wonder and with other friends try out different ideas. So the moon in Gemini, for anyone who's born with the moon in Gemini as well, I feel you, my friends. Your moon sign is your emotional side. It's your subconscious side. It's the side that comes out with your friends who know you really well. It's your inner child, your inner mother. All of those archetypes exist within the moon sign. The moon and sign and sun sign, I'm half Filipino, and there was a Filipino pantheon before it was Christianized by the Spaniards. I forget in what year, but before that there was a moon goddess named Mayari. She kind of looks like me. I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, thank you. I was born in 85, but I was conceived in 84. So you know when my parents got down, it was in 84. So I think something for you guys to look at as well, like count 9 months back from when you were born and be like, oh, okay, so that's when my little spark started. Because you were in a dream in your womb, right? In your mama's womb. You were dreaming a dream. You probably had a whole like 800 lifetimes in there for all you know. And so I think that there's a level too of, I'll be 40 in March. Hey, oh my gosh, Snuva. I feel like maybe we came from the same place before then. Because I'm 40 in April. So let's do something etherically for that. Oh, we got lost in the time stream. We did, you guys. I had a vision once of, because I'm been trying to, and that's also what I've been working on, you guys, ways for you to get my Dragon Warrior stuff. So I've been so paranoid about letting out too much online, but there's a certain level that needs to be done to let it out. I also need like illustrators And if you want to be in the movie, I have a way of you guys recording. Like video editing, I've been doing since I was 16 years old when I had Final Cut Pro because my dad was a professor in computer science. So I had all the Adobe suite at 16. And remember, I grew up in the 90s and I'm 85. So I had the internet way before my friends. My dad used to literally create video games for me and my sister to teach us math. So I had a very different childhood when it came to all of that. Yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. I was basically in training to help superheroes activate, right? Because, yes. Oh my gosh. Wow, I just got like chills up my spine to you guys. I'll go back to my vision that I've had. So I've recently come out of the closet somewhat of my use of entheogens, my use of like psychedelics, my love for the magic mushrooms and LSD and all of the magical tools available to us, but using them in a sacred practice. And the realization of just this world, this reality, I know it feels hard. I know it feels really dense right now. It's like that point in the story where it's like always darkest before the dawn, right? And like to hold on because backup is coming, right? But you just gotta hold on. And that on like a very upper level is this level of just knowing yourself. And so that's why I do these astro readings. I'm not trying to I grew up very Christian, you guys. I grew up Catholic. I taught Sunday school. I read in church and stuff. My dad is friends with a lot of like Jesuit priests and things. So I understand that, but I also understand the cosmos. So oh, good. I'm glad that you needed to hear that, because I'm here to let you know that I had a near-death experience when I was 3 years old, and I revisited that experience when I had a psychedelic journey when I was 38. Yeah, about a year ago. So what happened to me was when I was 3, my mom's Filipino, right? So she took me back to the Philippines, visit all my aunties and aunts. I have like 13 aunties and like 4 uncles, lots of cousins. Return of the Mac. You know what I would say to you about that is that everything is perspective. So we are reality generators as well, right? So there's a connection. I do have Lilu's costume. I love that. Multipass. Lilu Dallas Multipass. I love her quote, right? I am me supreme being, me protect you, right? So that is what the goddesses of the world need to kind of realize. We need to wake up because the world needs us. And it's just, I have been going through my own trials and tribulations, trying to get out of the corporate world, trying to work through, I won't get into it now, but the point is that in spite of all of this, you have to do you. No one else is going to do it. No one's going to like the things you like. No one's going to pay attention to the stories that you like. No one's going to care about certain characters the way that you care about certain characters. So no one loves April O'Neil the way I love April O'Neil. So I'm giving her life by like putting her on and bringing her to life in the way that I love her, you know? So it's just that, and that's how I'm doing it. And I just realized that like only I am going to think of doing that. So my message to you is, likewise, you are going to have little missions, quests that serve the greater universe. And some of them are going to seem nuts. Some of them are going to seem too big. Some of them are going to seem like you're going to have no support. Some of them, like some of you have been in hiding as to who you truly are because you're afraid that if you are to reveal who you really are, that people won't love you, or they'll believe you, or they'll abandon you, or they'll judge you, or all this stuff. And I'm here to tell you that if you just have the courage to just be who you truly are, it will be received. And yeah. Geocentric, not as much, my friend, but I'm always open to learning, right? And be open to everyone's perspective, because everyone has a piece of the puzzle, and it's by putting it all together and having dialogue about it and conversing about it and playing a little bit with it and trying things on that we learn more about all of it, and we can progress forward in a way that doesn't feel so stagnant and like we're doing the same thing constantly. Temporal time loops. Let's break out of it. Time for a new era. Okay, so the moon is in Gemini, so that's a very magical moon. Gemini's moon, ruled by Mercury, also known as Hermes. I like to think of Mercury as also like the Flash, right, in comic book lore. Even in comic books, how the Flash at such high speeds, time slows to a stop, an infinite amount of time. And in the multiverse, right, this concept of choose your weapons, I chose you. And so I had this entire infinite moment in a second to recruit all the good guys. Quicksilver, yeah, Quicksilver is okay. Quicksilver, yes, because Quicksilver alchemically looks like Mercury. Oh, Return of the Mac, you get like some gold stars in class for that superhero school. That was good. Okay, so next we have all the different other planets to mark out, and then we're going to do some quick readings from an alchemical standpoint. So I'm going to just do like cardinal, fixed, and mutable modalities, just a way to demonstrate it. What happened when I was there? I didn't even finish that story. Thank you for bringing that back. Okay. I'm half Filipino. My mother is Filipino. My dad is South African. When I was 3 years old, my mom took me back to visit the Philippines. And my family's from this area called, they speak Ilonggo, the Visayas Islands. It's like known as the City of Smiles. So visited my whole family there. And so what happened was I was playing with my cousin, and we were spinning around in a circle, and she accidentally let me go, and I hit the back of my head on solid concrete. And at that point, I blacked out. You're in a third world country, right? So my mom took me to a hospital. I was out for maybe 24 hours, like a day. And then after that point, I just woke up. That was when I was 3. And so then later on, it was just something like we talked about as a story. But when I was older, I had a psychedelic trip that took me back to the dream that I was in when I was 3. And it's taken me a while to kind of sift through everything, because when you're talking about dream interpretation, or if like you have dreams, like symbolically, what do these things mean? Like, for example, if you dream of like a train station or like an airplane, like traversing, or if you're like in a room and you're going from like one room to another, like through a door, so symbolically that's like a portal. So it's a way of also like deciphering whether or not you're like, am I astral traveling? Am I working something out in my own psyche? So like just kind of all of that. It's crazy, right? So it's taken a long while to kind of go back to what that is. And when people say like near-death experiences, like what does that, like, because I was 3 when when it happened, it was hard to kind of decipher any messages, let's say. And all I can say is that like I had an understanding of what time actually is. And time is just another dimension. Let's put it this way. When I took drama class or playing like musical theater, or like any, if you've ever taken acting lessons or anything like that, where I told you the world is a stage, right? Shakespeare himself has also like encoded fun things in his stories. But in some things, like let's say you write a script, right, for a movie or a show or any kind of skit. The moon and sun are local. Oh, you're good. You're talking about 3D space though, right? So if we think of like the world is having like dimensions, and like Superman had a comic book, right, where he basically was approached by a being of the fifth dimension who was just bored because there's no space, there's no time in the fifth dimension because time is the fourth dimension. So if time is just another dimension, it is something that is just a way to figure out where you are. So I'll put it this way, like when you're writing a play, you have the first act, second act, third act, right? And so in that you have scenes. So it's about each actor knowing when to go, like when to say your line. It's timing as opposed to know it, like being like, oh, it's 5 o'clock, right? Because like 5 o'clock is arbitrary. It's 5 o'clock here, but it's like 5 a.m. on the other side of the world, right? So it's a matter of just like, okay, I'm here in this story and you are also here in this story. So you and I both know that this is the time that we push the rock out of the way to get into the Temple of Doom. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, where are you in your story, right? Because when you're writing it, you know everything that's about to happen. So you have this eagle eye view of the way the story's going to go. But let's say you cast yourself as one of the characters in that story, right? For a moment in that moment, you don't know the outcome of what's going to happen. You don't know what's, like, you're surprised. You're like, whoa, I didn't know, like, because you're acting, you're in it. So you're pretending. You're playing this beautiful little game of pretend, like you don't know what's going to happen. And that's the same idea of this. Right? It would be too easy of a game of Earth if you knew everything that was about to happen and you knew exactly how to solve every problem. How boring would that be as an infinite, all-powerful being, right? So we have created Maya, illusion, a way for us to have a game to play out what it is to experience life as you, so that you can report back to the greater cosmos with what a beautiful, wonderful being and how magical your existence is, what it's like to be this flame in the cosmos and have such a uniqueness about you and your own way of doing things that has never ever been done before in all time, right? So yeah, it's a lot of pressure though, you know, and that's why people medicate with things and pretend like I'm just this, and you play down because it's hard. It's not easy. But those of you who know, you're given those challenges because you are strong enough to do it. Trust me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope I inspire you guys, right? Because I've been in some dark places too, and I thank the characters in my storybooks. I thank friends of mine. I thank those of out there that you are the conduits for the divine, right? And so these messages come through in ways we don't realize, right? And so you got to keep doing you. You never know who needs you to be you so that they can receive it. Yeah. Aloha 6 Prodigy. Oh my goodness, what a name. Recent news is a quantum PC that was created that proved the multiverse indeed actually does exist. I know it exists, like on a gnosis level for myself, but it's cool, right? That there's going to be, what should I call it? 3D consensus reality proof of things, right? Like my sister's one of those people because her moon, she's an Aries. She's my Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman herself is also an Aries woman. I don't think that surprises anyone. But her moon's in Virgo. So any of you guys who have Virgo placements, Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, right? And just like Gemini, but it expresses itself differently. So Gemini is a mutable sign, right? So this idea of like distribution. Yes, yes. I am familiar, but that's a whole other topic. Let's park that. Return of the Mac. Maybe we can have a show about that. Because I feel like that there's a lot of, I hate the word misinformation. I just feel like there's not enough stories about a lot of these tag words when it comes to things, right? Like, for example, the Metatron cube showed up, or Metatron itself showed up in one of my Supergirl comics, right? And then I learned how to draw the Metatron cube. And then you realize that the Book of Enoch actually has these ages that encode how to do the Metatron cube in the book, right? But Book of Enoch, although it's like a Christian book, is not canon, right? So it's like all this weird stuff when it when it comes to all of this. Yeah, yeah, you guys. Oh, but like I was such a nerdy kid growing up. I read a lot of books, a lot of books, like Dune, Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, all of the Narnia Chronicles. I read all of Aldous Huxley's stuff too, as well as like science fiction things like there's this series I used to. I'm coming back to a lot of the old books I used to read because think about it, the magic of reading is you, right? So when you're a comic book or any book you have goes unactivated until like you read it, right? So the you that you're when you're like 16 or 18 or however old you were when you first read something is not the you when you read it now. So it's, I think, something, I know, homework for you guys. If there's a book that spoke to you when you were a certain age, try like going back and like rereading some things and see how they resonate with you now and like interface with like the you at 20. Like I love talking to Rachel at 20. Me at 20 was like a complete badass. She like didn't care. I remember I got my first bartending job. I completely just lied, right? I worked at Earl's in Winnipeg, and they just opened the Earl's down near my area, St. Vital, and I went in, I talked to the manager, and I was like, hey, I'd like to be a bartender. And she's like, can you bartend? I'm like, no, but I will figure it out. Pretty confident. So she hired me, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I did figure it out. So it's one of those things about that younger self. Like now that you have this like wiser self here, don't forget about the younger versions of you. X-Men does a lot of this, right? Like where the younger version talks to the older version, and like they're just whole different lives if you really think about it, right? So reading is the basis of a human's profound intelligence, extraordinary sense of, oh, you got some truth in this chat, my goodness. Return that makes sense by yours. Oh, I was born in the prairies too, right? I feel I'm like ultra Canadiana. I love, but you know what? Toronto's got a whole lot of like fun history behind it as well. Friesen, I was a bartender when I was 25, brutal time. Was it hard before you were bartending? So I feel like different types of bartenders, like if you're like a restaurant bartender, like Earl's itself, oh, I have stories about Earl's generally. They try to like brainwash you. I got written up, you guys, for wearing pants. So I was like in a 360 bar, and Earl's had this rule that you had to wear a skirt that was 2 inches above the knee. But I was like, who's gonna see me behind the bar? Also, when I'm bending down to reach stuff, people can see up my bum. So like, how about I wear pants? And then they... What a different time. And then when I first moved to Toronto, I also worked at a few bars on College Street. It was so cool back then. There was just like cool like underground bars that you just like bartend at, and it was so fun. I got to hear so many cool stories because I was like, I'm just that kind of person. I love hearing cool stories, and that's one of the main things I'm going to do when I'm in Winnipeg is interview my granny, who is 96 years old, and she is from South Africa, and she's amazing. Her name's Delina, and we're going to talk, and I'm going to tell me all the stories of what it was like growing up in South Africa, being like Dutch, and like falling in love with my grandfather who is black, right? So, and being a interracial couple in a country that you're not allowed to do that in, right? So, best party streets in Toronto. Well, that was back in the day. College Street was pretty cool. I'm old though, you guys. I'm turning 40 next year. So I used to go dance at Government downtown. And you know what's there now? A parking lot. Or a condo. Yeah, dress codes. But you know, it's just funny for me to realize like the way that the societal climate has changed. And I do think that that's a good segue back into my chart reading of the now, because Pluto, our good friend Pluto. So the other government, yeah, government, G-U-V, government. They gave Armin van Buuren a piece of the floor. That's how important government was to the electronic music scene. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I used to work in the corporate world, right? I used to work for the hospital. I worked for an agency that, as a project, I was a digital project manager, was my role. So digital project management is this idea of bringing software to life, right? So like sprint planning, software, all that stuff. My sister's a developer, so my dad was a professor in computer science, right? So this tech talk, like speaking tech, my biggest gripe right now, I have a lot of girlfriends of mine and I love them. I love them. I love you girls. But please stop calling yourself a woman in tech if you're doing digital marketing. You are not actually coding anything. You are not technical. You have people who are technical that you work with. Or your QA or whatever. Like, and yes, you work in a technology company, but you yourself are not a woman in tech. Until you code and you show me your code, you are not. So I'm not even a woman in tech. I was a digital project manager and I consider myself technical, but I'm not that. It's so funny, but that's all NLP, you guys. That's what we call things. That's how we're naming things. It's like it's the idea of like Tesla, the company, literally having nothing to do with Tesla, the being, like Tesla, who died penniless and wanted free energy, doesn't really have anything to do with electronic cars and self-driving cars that don't really work right. I don't like Elon Musk, by the way. I think he no. His family owned an emerald mine. He doesn't have a great context as to like representing any of that. Okay, guys. So Pluto. This is I need to get through this because you guys need to know this as well as I. So I'll power through this, but I will be back later as April because I do have a special comic book reading for you guys with this fun crossover. And then I think Batgirl and Nightwing will return for some Gotham raving later. Okay, so Pluto is in Capricorn. So where are we? That is Leo. Oh my gosh, the chart has shifted. Let me go this way. We have Moon in Gemini, Sun in Sagittarius. Let me do third house. Yeah, so Gemini also rules the third house, so let's keep the housing system on the same page as the signs for now. It doesn't always work out that way. You sometimes will have depending on your rising sign, it will line up the chart so that each of your houses will have a rulership of a sign that sometimes is lined up, sometimes isn't lined up. But it's also another indicator for you to kind of keep in mind for yourself, right? Yes, it's April O'Neil for Channel 6 News. I'm here with the cosmic news. I'm here to tell you where all the planets are sitting in the chart of the everlasting now. So Pluto, my friend Pluto, I personally have a very strong aspect to Pluto. So for me, Pluto and the Sun are directly opposing each other. If you have this aspect as well, call me, contact me. It's not an easy placement. Pluto rules things like change, death, rebirth, ends of things, changes of things, upheavals, transformation. Oh, Jesus, amazing. Lucky guy, Chris. Lucky guy. Did you get, I feel like, is that a thing to still get, like, signed photographs of people? Like, who cares? I don't care if I'm embarrassing like that. Amazing. Hey, David, you have a great day, too. Santos Bonacci. That name rings a bell. I'm going to place that in my memory bank. I got her auto on an NE. Oh my gosh, amazing. NCA. Oh, sick. That's sick. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love action figures. There's a magic to the 3D representation of like a meaning behind it, right? Okay, so Pluto right now, I'm sure you guys, if you've been with me for Astro before, you'll know that I've always loved to harp on about how Pluto has just moved into Aquarius. And how does this relate to me being April O'Neil? There you are, Aquarius. Maybe it's because I'm holding it like that. There we go. So we have the Sun in Sagittarius, and Pluto is in Aquarius, but he has just emerged into Aquarius. And Aquarius is a fixed sign, right? So when I did my talk about the fixed signs of the zodiac, which are Aquarius, Leo, Scorpio, and Taurus, I talked about them as like the Ninja Turtles, right? Like Leonardo is a Leo, Donatello is an Aquarius, Michelangelo is a Taurus because he likes pizza and like fun times and relationships with his friends. And oh my gosh, who's the last one? Raphael, of course, Scorpio, the lone wolf, the one who's gonna like kind of push things a little bit. And so him and Raph and Leo sometimes have this like power dynamic. But all of that is just a story to help you understand a higher cosmic essence of things, right? So in you, if you are one of these fixed signs, or rather if you have a placement that are in them, you may find certain characteristics that fall into like that these other characters in this universe also embody. Like Donatello and Batman, like Donatello is like enamored with all of Batman's gadgets and stuff, right? So like Donatello is like the brains of the group. So if we think of like Aquarius and us as a collective whole, having Pluto moving into that realm is this idea of us on a society level, on this way of us interrelating with each other. It's going to break. It's going to change. It's going to transform and evolve into whatever the next way of doing things is. And it's going to be novel because it hasn't been done before. And it's interesting, right? Aquarius being an air sign, but also being fixed. Because most air signs are... okay, you're born a Virgo, but you're a Leo now. You know, the way I kind of look at it is this. Think of all the different systems of astro, because you can also look at the Vedic astrology chart, right? And you can also look at the different ways of mapping what the stars are telling you. I think knowing that, Alpha 6, like knowing being born a Virgo and it changes is important, right? And like the shift of change between those signs is what matters as well, right? Because and also like you knowing it changes it, right? Like I think Einstein even said like time itself is dependent on the observer. So you now being aware and being lucid of that is also like another way of you transforming into being more of a Leo as well, right? So Virgo is a bit more of but Virgo's backstage, right? So remember I told you guys the chart is like this, and like there are planets that are backstage and planets that are more front stage. So like you have Aries that's front stage, Taurus that's front stage, Gemini, Leo, Cancer. Like they're very like, hey, look at me. But Virgo is a bit more like, I will do what's needed. I don't necessarily need to get the credit for it. But Leo asks of you to maybe get a little bit of credit for it. Maybe have a bit of the spotlight. It's not such a bad thing to like step out into the spotlight. Okay, so Pluto is in Aquarius. Let's see. What else do we have here, my friends? We've got, oh my gosh, Mercury. I'm going to go see like friends who are in the same sign because Mercury's the Flash, and I've been working on a cosplay for hubby as the Flash because the Flash and Supergirl are friends. And I love the Flash because there's such an awareness of the Flash of other universes. He's the one who, like, at the speed of light, right, or this, like, you go past a certain point, can April beat Goku? If April can figure out how to have her own Super Saiyan powers, maybe. Also, yeah, maybe. Or it's all context. When does the fight take place? We need to have parameters to certain interactions. Okay, so Mercury is in Sagittarius as well. So what do we have here, my friends? We have a conjunction function. So anytime you have two planets hanging out together, it's a conjunction. So in your own chart, you're going to have certain planets, let's say, that are in the same sign. So here we have another planet, Mercury. It's hanging out at the same sun as in the same sign as the sun. This is a very gratuitous position, right? Because this is Mercury rules communication. It rules all forms of communication. So you can think of art and music as also being the domain of Mercury as well. So thought as well is included in this here as well. So this idea of being able to communicate and to be able to communicate higher truths with a capital T is in the vibe of the cosmos right now. So I will leave that there. Next we have, what else is in Aquarius? So Pluto has just moved into Aquarius, but what is also there is Venus. Oh, Venus. I love you, Venus. Venus also, like, commonalities are Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty, relationships, Cowabunga, and, all the Venetian things. I'm a Taurus, so Venus rules Taurus and Libra, and so I would say that Taurus is the more feminine expression of Venus, where Libra is the more masculine. And what I mean by that is that Venus in Taurus is more like sensuous and like naps and cuddles and like cashmere and softness and succulence and food and strawberries and wine, all that kind of stuff is Taurus. And Libra loves all those things too, but in a, let's say, like an elevated kind of way. So opera, the stage, but also like judiciousness, having justice, fairness, that kind of stuff. What about Sagittarius? We are in Sagittarius season right now. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, right? The king of the gods. And also this idea of expansion. And so Sagittarius is known as actually being kind of like a lucky sign, right? So what does it mean? Lucky. Never ending story. Falcor was a luck dragon. Lady Luck. Luck was a lady. So this idea that like luck is being this idea of Cortana chose Master Chief because he had luck. We all need a little bit of luck on our side, right? Because even Dr. Manhattan, when he has that conversation with Lori, how the thermodynamic miracle, like odds so impossible that for it to occur would be a true miracle, right? To witness that, and the fact that human beings and you being here is exactly that because of like all of the infinite ways, right? Yes, 100%. You're lucky every day to be alive and experience all of this in like real time and like real moment and like not know what's going to happen next exactly, right? It should be fun, like a surprise birthday party. Okay, so Venus is in Aquarius. So that's an interesting thought because Aquarius people, so all of you who have placements backstage, so anywhere from like Virgo, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, into Pisces, there can be sometimes this bit of aloofness because backstage people are like, you need backstage for front stage to work, right? Someone's got to hold the spotlight. Someone's got to like call the backstage. Someone's got to set up the next set and help with the costume changes. So very important, but also a level of sometimes hidden, right? And aloof. This like, oh, I'm not in it. I'm just like observing it from like back here because I don't want to get like emotionally involved. But what Venus asks of those of us who want to kind of like be back here because maybe being emotionally invested means that this might hurt later, or I don't want to be betrayed, or any kinds of, sometimes I get sad when it comes to parties sometimes, when you have like such a good time, and I'll have this moment in it where I'm like, oh, this is gonna end, right? Or like I even if it's a happy ending, I still get sad at endings, right? Or saying like I beat a game in a video game and you have to say goodbye to that world because you're like, oh, now I beat it. So I'm a Sagittarius, so I run. Yeah, so it's just this aloofness. Oh my gosh, you are Sagittarius, so you run. And Sagittarius is travel too, right? So foreign worlds. And when I mean travel, I don't just mean travel from like Africa to Indonesia. I mean like space travel. I mean, astral travel. I mean, all those kinds of travels. That's also Sagittarius. So, having Venus in Aquarius, rather, we also have Pluto there. So, Pluto and Venus actually are friends. Venus is friends with everybody, though. But I'm going to get into Hades and Persephone at a later date. But Pluto and Hades are like misunderstood in that sense, right? Because change can be a very good thing, and surprises can be fun. And as sometimes, like, the old dying parts of the fern need to be like pulled off, and you need to like burn things down to have nourishment for the soil for new things to grow, right? Let's see here. If only that was true. I'm not Sagittarius. Aww. But if you're backstage, I'm not Sagittarius. What sign are you? I like boobs. Okay. All right, guys. Let me continue. So Venus in Aquarius is basically this understanding of relationships to the society as a whole. So your relationship to the external world is something that demands focus from you right now. And I don't mean in a way of being like, maybe some of you feel like you want to just like run away and like go into a hut and like not deal with society sometimes. I do sometimes. But there is this level of like being of service to the world, or being of service to even yourself and your soul mission, also requires this interfacing with like greater civilization, greater society. And so Venus is asking us to have this relook at that relationship to the greater, wider civilization of our time, that like eagle eye view, but still having a relationship to it, and less of like being aloof and like, well, I'm the observer, so I'm like not gonna get involved. Oh, thank you. What a lovely gift. Oh, and it matches the Venus love. Aw, thanks, Alpha 6. Oh, that sounded like that was from a movie. Like, thanks, Alpha 6. Now on to the next planet. Yes. This, many of my Sagittarius friends are some of the best dance performers I know. So they're really good at like going on stage and like turning it on, and the walk, just like a Sagittarius walk. So that's props for you guys. Okay. But it's true, like Sagittarius, like they're a fire sign too, a mutable fire sign. So this idea of fire, but also willing to like distribute that fire, having it be shared, right? From one candle, you're able to like light all the others, right? Okay, I have the moon in Gemini. Where are we in terms of planets? I hope I didn't lose anybody. I always worry, like if I lose one of the planets, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I didn't, Neptune, I'll do you next. But like Neptune, I'd lost Neptune for a little while, and Neptune is Poseidon, right? And I don't know if you guys know the myth of Odysseus, but Ulysses, was like trapped on the ocean because he like pissed off Poseidon. So I was like, don't get mad at me if I've lost you. I'm not good at dancing, but I pretend I am. You know what, John? I think everyone's good at dancing. I had a friend of mine tell me, she's like, you only say that because you're good at dancing. I'm like, that's not true. Dance is a communication of your body. So when you hear a certain song, I truly think for each of you, like your movement to it, your natural movement to the beat to it, is something in your cells that tells you something. So there's a level of like movement as being like a way of your body communicating to itself. And fun hormonal fact, when you move in sync with other human beings, you release oxytocin. And oxytocin is known as like the love and bonding hormone. And so there's this idea of this invisible thread that is able to connect other humans together by just, moving in sync together. And it's just like, I used to be a cheerleader and on dance team back in the day, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, right? And like, so when you have formations and you just have to know where you are in your peripheral to others so that you're in formation, even though you can't see the formation from the audience, you have to know where you're standing. And that's kind of like what astro is for like you knowing who you are and where you're supposed to be on stage, right? There's a special spot just for you. So stop trying to be this guy over there and this chick over here and that over here, because you're supposed to do exactly what you're meant to do. And sometimes when what you're doing is against the status quo or against what's been done before, it can be met with resistance. But you gotta no, I was meant to be here. See here, a mental block. I used to say to myself, saying I have bad memory. Yeah, you don't have bad memory, right? Maybe you remember. Like, for example, I tell people this all the time. Tell me the difference between a dream and a memory, right? Because have you guys ever had that experience where you remember a dream that you had, and then do you ever wonder wait, did that happen or did I dream that? Okay, let's see here. I think, yeah, but John, that's when we talk about our superhero friends, right? And even villains, because in Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the heroes in that is Lex Luthor, right? So hero and villain is dependent on where you're standing in the story and where you're at in the story too, because that's why there's redemption arcs, and that's why there's all heroes' journeys and things like that. Okay, so Poseidon, Neptune, is the dream planet, the king of the unseen kingdom. This idea of all of this going on under the surface. And also this idea of, it's interesting, right? There's a myth of how Venus was born, right? So Uranus loved Gaia, the earth, so much that he wanted to stay attached to her, right? So it was and Uranus is a sky god. And Uranus is actually also a planet, which I'll place next. So Uranus and the Earth are so tight together, right? And so Uranus and the Earth had many children, the Titans, right? So Prometheus, Atlas, Kronos, right? Who's also Saturn. So he had all these children, but they were trapped in between the two. Couldn't have any life with that. So what ended up happening was Kronos, time, took his sickle and sliced off Uranus's manhood, his penis, and threw it into the sea. Yes, and then because of that, a gap opened, and all of the children were able to come out, and there was space. So think about this symbolically. Time, right? Kronos, time, split heaven and earth so that you're able to have a story, right? So you need to have a beginning, middle, and end for a story to exist, which is why I love Tarantino too, movies, right? Because non-linear storytelling play with time in such a way that you can see that although we are having a linear perspective, that time is not linear, right? Yeah. So that side note, the only reason why I brought that story was because Venus was born from the sea foam when Kronos threw Uranus's manhood into the sea. So this foam came, and then Venus hey, I'm here, fully naked and on a seashell, right? And all the gods got distracted by her. So Zeus was okay, I'm going to marry you to Hephaestus, the ugliest guy here, so that you can't keep distracting everybody with yourself. Oh, goodness. Oh, yeah, 100%. I love that, John. Be 100% you, right? And if people can't handle you at full strength, that's their problem. Of no worth. Okay, so Neptune right now for all of us as a collective is in Pisces. Neptune rules Pisces, so it is in the sign of rulership. Pisces, I love Pisces. I have, oh my goodness, look at it look at the magnets of that. So this is all pushing together here. I'm going to put that in the 12th house. 12th house, Pisces. 11th house has Venus. Pluto here. Sagittarius has Mercury and the Sun. We have a lot of stuff backstage happening, you guys. Actually, if I look at the whole chart, the only planets that we have playing front stage are the moon. Oh, actually, that's not true. So there's another planet hanging out with the moon, and it's Jupiter. So ruler of Sagittarius is Jupiter, king of the gods. And funny story about Zeus. I actually like Zeus. He's kind of temperamental, but uh, I have a beautiful comic book of Wonder Woman that has a rendition of Zeus that kind of looks like Poseidon, but you're a Pisces. Oh my goodness, I love Pisces. Did you know that Superman's a Pisces? Jay Light, you're a Sagittarius, and so Jupiter here rules Sagittarius. So fun fact for you guys, whatever sign you are, pay attention to your ruling planet and what he's doing, right? So it's funny. Yeah, it's true. Hyperman, I'm a Leo. Yeah, I love Leos. So my signature sign is a Leo. And quick note, your signature sign, you'll see how like this is the stage, right? And you have Aries entering the chart. So in your own chart, you have your own configuration of what this looks like. So your signature sign is the first planet that enters the chart. And that's kind of fun because so the chart for the now, Jupiter is actually the first sign to enter the chart, making it the signature sign of this chart. So for me, the sun was the first sign from first planet to enter my chart. So my signature sign is a Leo because the sun rules Leo. Oh, thank you. Sun, Pisces, Moon, Sagittarius. Ooh, you're a big dreamer then. I am wacky. That is some very high dimensional stuff. What's mine? Jay, like you were a Leo, right? Is that what it was? Let me see here. No, Hyperman, you're a Leo. December nice, you're a Sagittarius. Oh, well, you are king of the gods. So Sagittarius, we are in Sagittarius season right now. So happy birthday to all the Sagittariuses out there. One of my favorite Sagittariuses is actually Jim Morrison. And I like to think of Sagittarius in its highest expression. So you want to think of each of the signs as having, you know, a shadow side and of course a highest vibration embodiment side. And we always want to try, oh no, as Yoda would say, do or do not. There is no try. We want to do our best to emulate the highest vibration. I mean, you can do what you want, I guess, you know, there's free will. That's the beauty of it all. But a well-aspected Sagittarius will seek further, is the explorer, will push the edge of what is known to find the truth. So I can do magic. Oh, I knew it. You could do magic things. And that's something to note as well, you guys. Like in the role-playing game of life, where your astrology gives you clues as to your character and what you're playing here, are also clues to what your powers are, right? So like no different if you're playing the game and you're more inclined to be a bard versus a druid versus a fighter versus, let's say, a berserker knight, you know? So these are all different things and you can be blends of them, but there are going to be roles that have more resonance for you. And just to pay attention to clues in the cosmos that let you know things about yourself. The one collecting data. Yes, you have, I think Aquarius, right, is that role, as well as Gemini. You have, or the one creating the data. That's a good way to put it, right? And just knowing, are you receiving? Are you expressing? Are you this? So just where you are in relation to others and being aware of where your special spot is, right? And if you're late for call time, this has stressed me out doing stage shows, right? Where you're doing multiple costumes and you literally have like 2 minutes to change from one costume to another. Holy cow. Like that was like the most stressful part. Backstage was more stressful for me than being on stage, to be honest. Like you're like, oh, I gotta put this on, change it, and now I'm ready. That kind of thing. I'm gonna have a show about that. 2025 predictions. Did you guys know that there's a comic book prediction about 2025? in Doomsday Clock, they say that in 2025, Superman's supposed to return and all of his greatest allies will return with him. What do you think that means? So we have Jupiter is in Jupiter's actually very close to the moon right now, you guys. And the moon is going to be full tomorrow. And the moon is in Gemini. I don't know if it'll be... Yes, it will. Yes, it will. So fun fact, guys. So Sagittarius, right? Your opposing sign is Gemini. So there's understanding to be had when you look at what the opposing sign is, because remember, like, same in a lot of ways, but like a mirror, right? Yeah, interesting, right? So maybe you just needed to hear that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay. So the moon, oh my goodness. So everything I said about Jupiter, this is crazy actually. I didn't even know this was happening right now. And it's opposing the sun very strongly. Wow, that's very powerful. Okay, guys. So, quick tip for you this weekend and tomorrow. If you have had something that you've been wanting to communicate and put out there, whether that is a piece of artwork or writing or a video or like your truth or your manifesto, tomorrow is a very good time to do it. There's a big full moon. The moon is the moon, the goddess of the moon. Let's look at this from like a character standpoint. The goddess of the moon is standing right next to Zeus, the king of the gods. So the power of your subconscious, your inner child, is going to find expansion and extra lightning power from Jupiter. And that together, you're going to find a bridge between your subconscious dream world and this world. So this concept of what is Saturn, Taurus? Saturn is Chronos, and Saturn rules time, and Saturn actually rules oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. Capricorn. Yeah, Saturn rules Capricorn. Just because Capricorn, and if you think about time, Saturn's kind of one of those things where like it gets a bad rap, right? It's like, oh, but Saturn can also be a very good teacher, right? Oh, thanks. Thank you, Blue Diamonds. Appreciate that. Yay. No, I tried to watch Joker last night. I was unable to. Oh, which Joker? Was it the musical one? I don't know if I could watch that one. We'll get to Saturn in just a second. Wait, no, actually, let's get to Saturn now. I'm holding him, so I will, no problem. The new one. I know Saturn in my chart, but my Saturn is on Taurus. Oh, okay, I get it. So, your Saturn is in Taurus. So, Saturn, you guys have heard about like your Saturn return, right? So, Saturn typically rules things like your vocation, your work life, school. Think of it as like a headmaster. You know, like in school where you have like a teacher who's just like really, really strict. That's kind of like the embodiment of what Saturn kind of is. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. You know what though? I love musicals. You guys, right? But here's the thing, like, every story, like Homer said this when he wrote the Iliad. He besieged the muses so that he could tell the story in the way that it needed to be told. Because when you're an artist, when you are writing, when you're doing anything artistic, you are the lightning bolt. You are the conduit bringing down, anchoring in the higher reality into this realm so that other people can enjoy it and you can show people the whole magic ethereal realm, right? That scene from the Sorcerer's Stone. Oh, I'm blanking on that. I will look it up. But I'm going on a whole tangent right now, but it's all to say that Saturn and your Saturn return, Saturn goes around the chart. It takes 30 years for Saturn to make his way around the chart. So when Saturn comes back to its place of origin, you have something called a Saturn return. And it typically happens about when you're 30 years old. So where your Saturn sits gives you some perspective as to where you're going to have like a relook at your life's work when you come to 30. And so Taurus, I'm a Taurus, right? Tauruses are like the earth, very material, right? But the highest vibration of that is this idea of what does it take to anchor in your dreams? What does it take to anchor in the highest, brightest golden timeline? It takes work. It takes all the things that are sometimes like not fun to do, right? Making like schedules and plans and showing up on time and all this stuff. But these are all the practical things that are required in order to do the more fantastical, magical, wonderful, like fun things, right? So you need boundaries and work so that you can truly have the highest echelon of fun. That's the way I kind of look at it. So Saturn right now for all of us sits in Pisces. And I have a friend who has this placement, and it can be tough because Pisces is very attuned to the greater collective consciousness, right? So if you have placements in the 12th house or Pisces, you know, like sometimes you like wake up and you're like, oh, I feel sad and I don't really know why, right? Pisces, yeah, the elder of the zodiac, right? So the omega point of everything, right? This idea of endings. And so it can be nihilistic, right? So like it's like knowing like, well, I already know how this ends, so what's the point in even doing anything? Well, the whole journey is the point, and that's why you need friends who remind you of that. But it's also a very powerful thing to know outcome and have foresight, and to come out of your little hermit phase sometimes, Pisces, and help the greater cosmos, because like it's a balance of that, right? And there's a reason why wizards hide away in a cave somewhere, like Yoda's away and like Dagobah hiding. Like you have to seek out these teachers, and like they'll pretend they're not even them, right? Like I don't know who that is. Who's Yoda? So that's the thing. Like if you like when the student is ready, the teacher, the master will appear, right? And there's a lot of that happening right now in the cosmos. So keep your eyes open for not only where there are teachers, but where students are appearing for you to share your gifts with them, right? Okay, then we've got Uranus, which is, oh my gosh, where are you? You were in Taurus for a long time, but now you're not. Oh, you are in Taurus, but Taurus is backstage here. That's why it's confusing me. Okay, so Uranus is in Taurus. I'm not going to talk too much about that other than to say that lots of revolutions as it comes to us understanding value and monetary systems are underway and will continue to happen into the next year. And then last but definitely not least, because I have a very strong relationship with this planet, the planet Mars. And Mars, if we think of Venus as love and what you love, Mars is how you get that love. Love is drive. It is like, you know, like the aggression, the push, the vitality, your lifeblood, all of that is all in Mars. Signals, and Doctor Strange will have to investigate. We have to get, oh yes, oh my gosh, I like boobs. You're actually very on the nose there. And I have a really fun Doctor Strange comic book to share with you guys once I get my Psylocke costume ready. Actually, wait, oh my gosh, I forget her name. Doctor Strange's wife. Oh, is it Sarah? It's escaping me right now. I'll remember. And then later, we'll talk about it. Okay, so Mars is in Leo. Oof. Yum. That's amazing. That's good for all of us, my friends. This is that power of like drive and oomph and like, I am here and I am who I am and screw you if you don't like it. It's extra powered here by a bit being in Leo. So Mars being in Leo, you've got that extra courage to pull in, to just be like, you know what? I don't care if you don't like what I have to say. I'm going to say it. You know? And also in doing that as well, inspiring others to also speak their truths as well. So you end up with this beautiful symphony, a harmony of doing things, right? Because it drive and propelling forward and progress and all of these more aggressive energies, they sometimes get a bad rap, right? It's just like, oh, that's dangerous and that's scary and this and that. Yeah, that's why you have to have control and power over yourself and mastery and practice and all of these maybe not fun things, but once you learn them, you never have to learn them again. You will always know them. So take the time to figure out what that is for yourself. There is so much energy in the cosmos right now to help you do what you need to do. I went way later than I thought I was going to, so I need to drop off right now, but I will be back later this evening. My hubby, DJ Shaman, will be back. DJ Caduceus. I call him DJ Shaman as well, because what are shamans other than those who like guides between realms, guides between portals, and many musicians are just that for sure. I can think of many off the top of my head, like Freddie Mercury, Jim Morrison, those who have the ability to see the other realms and use music as a way to anchor that back for us to also get some intel from, right? It's all sharing is caring, my friends. So let's keep learning more about the cosmos, more about yourself, and then embody that, because the universe is counting on you. But no worries, I have your back. Until then, my friends, next time.